into it. Germany. Process to recognize Palestine state must begin now. Even they got Germany speaking out.
Germany says the process to recognize a Palestinian state must begin now. Berlin adding that Israel is increasingly in the minority over the issue of Palestine. The move comes just hours after Canada said it planned on recognizing the state of Palestine at the UN General Assembly in September. For more, we can go across to Nick Holsworth standing by in Berlin. Nick, good afternoon. Just how significant is what's coming out of Germany today?
Germany is the last bastion of Israel defense. So it is fairly significant when you got, it's like America number 1, Germany number 2, Israel number 3 in terms of defending Israel. So when you got even Germany being like, oh, we are going to move to this state recognition. Yeah, that's fairly significant. I will say, that is not an insignificant move. Okay. Even though, let's be real, and I've talked about this already, all of these statehood recognitions are coming with a shit ton of qualifiers, and they're actually not moving the needle as hard as it's supposed to, and it's pretty messed up overall. I think it implies that the environment has changed quite a bit. On the one hand, I'm wary because it is a PR stunt. I don't trust Western nations at all. But on the other hand, I do think that the permission structure has shifted so dramatically that these guys are engaging in this to appease the masses, to appease the discontent that they are experiencing, and they have to respond. America doesn't, because America's not a democracy, and America has a fuck you gonna do about it kind of attitude, right? Whereas, like, European liberal democracies at least symbolically have to defend democracy and liberal values. So I think that they're just trying to find an outlet where they could just be like, yeah, we are also responding to the increasing public pressure that is mounted against us due to this Israel stuff by saying, will offer state recognition with these incredible conditions, of course, which renders the state recognition useless. Because a lot of the Palestinian state recognition actually comes from like these ridiculous qualifiers. Hey, Sean the Black, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream, brother. Where a lot of the state recognition qualifiers are demilitarized Palestinian state, run by the Palestinian Authority, which is incredibly unpopular in the eyes of the Palestinians. It's not a real democratic process at all. The Palestinian Authority is a de facto arm of the Israeli security apparatus. It is the second least popular entity in the region in the eyes of the Palestinians, after Israel, of course. And also the idea that they are supposed to be demilitarized makes the process of full-blown ethnic cleansing imminent. It only just it basically says no longer can Israel do full-blown ethnic cleansing right now in the Gaza Strip, but they can continue doing the same process that they've taken place through a sequence of checkpoints, annexation, land grabs, pogroms that they've engaged in the West Bank. That's basically what they're saying, which is Israel's goal ultimately. I mean, how can anyone avoid or deny the reality that Israel's goal is the greater Israeli project at this point? You can't deny it. It's undeniable. That's precisely the reason why they're even making this inference, making this state recognition known, right? Why? Because Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign has gotten so unimaginably horrible that it has created this massive amount of public pressure that politicians have to respond to at this point. It's become unavoidable. Like I said, you have to become undeniable. You have to become unavoidable. If you want to let your voice be heard, if you want change to happen in the Western world, you just have to keep up the pressure. And all of a sudden, all that pressure amounts to state recognition with like these conditions. It's not enough. You have to keep pushing.
Presents a massive shift in German foreign policy. Support for Israel is built in to the German constitution. For 80 years now, since the end of the Nazi regime in 1945 and since the beginning of the German Federal Republic, which was founded in 1949, support for Israel has been part of the ground laws, as they're called in Germany, and indeed criticising Israel, that's allowed, but any anti-Semitic expression is punishable by law of up to 5 years in prison. So the fact that the German Foreign Minister, Johann Wadephol, is considering supporting a two-state solution, supporting a Palestinian state, he said it would be the end of the process rather than the beginning of the process, is extremely significant. And he's flying to Israel today to hold a meeting with his Israeli counterpart, Gideon Sair, later this afternoon. So the fact that he's released a statement before he flies to Jerusalem is extremely significant. It's putting the Israelis on notice that Germany's position is shifting.
Nick, thank you very much for the update. Nick Holdsworth reporting there from Berlin. Let's go across to Jerusalem now. France 24's Noga Tarnopolsky is standing by. Noga, this is a bombshell shift in tone from Germany, and it follows similar statements from other G7 states. Has there been any reaction?
There's been vicious reaction from Israel. The first country to make this announcement was France, and Israel responded by via the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister by accusing President Macron of being a collaborator with Hamas terror, no less, of rewarding murderous Hamas terror by recognizing a Palestinian state. And clearly this is part of a well-coordinated diplomatic tsunami plan to pressure Israel.
Everyone is Hamas. I mean, of course, Israel is Hamas. Who isn't Hamas at this point? You know, Germany is Hamas. Germany saying this is so funny. What are Benjamin Netanyahu's going to come out and be like, this is the most anti-Semitic thing that Germany has ever done in its long history. Nothing is more anti-Semitic than the recognition of a Palestinian state. It's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's totally and utterly ridiculous. It's like when people go, oh, dude, you know what's really problematic? Not me being racist, you calling out my racism. That's what's pissing me off. That's the real issue here. It's like, no, I think it was the original racism that's the real issue.
It's not just the UK and France and Canada and now Germany, a country with which Israel has uniquely close ties, who are discussing the possibility and the eventual necessity of recognizing a Palestinian state. But as our colleague Nick just said, the German minister is doing so on his way to Israel. He's about to arrive in Jerusalem. And we also have Sweden. The prime minister in Sweden called for suspending the European free trade agreement with Israel. So these are all extremely serious matters. They indicate the complete collapse of Israeli foreign policy that we have seen under Prime Minister Netanyahu during this war. I mention his name in particular because Netanyahu has long presented himself to Israelis as, and I'm quoting now from his many political campaigns, as in another league, in a more elevated diplomatic league, as the one specialist who really...
Bro, it turns out, even by European standards, okay, after centuries of death, destruction, extraction of natural resources from the global south, slavery, even with all the bounties of colonial empire, even the Europeans have like a distaste for maximum death and destruction, like doing a 13th century style siege on a captive population that has fucking iPhones and can literally elevate the problem directly to the doorstep of every single person in the Western world is untenable. Who would have thought? Okay? It turns out, regardless of the multi-billion-dollar influence peddling operation and advocacy groups that you have cultivated over a long period of time, over multiple decades, in an effort to align so perfectly with Western foreign policy in this resource-rich region, there is only so much death and destruction that even the most racist, Islamophobic people will allow, okay? We are there. We are there. There is no starvation of children that is appropriate in the eyes of the Western world, so much so that even liberal politicians in America have to respond to this and be like, okay, I don't know how we got here, but oops, we can't do this any longer. Okay? That's it. I can't even, like, I thought, and I say this as someone who constantly talks about how fucking depraved we are here in the West, right? In the comfort of our homes. But I thought even this would have been packed up a long time ago. I thought that there was only so much death and destruction that people would be on board with. I literally thought, the entirety of the hospital system collapsing in the Gaza Strip was enough. I thought it should have been enough. This should have ended a year ago.
And be Israel's face to the world. All of that is crumbling very, very quickly right now.
And Noga, I'm just curious, what are ordinary Israelis saying about this shift in tone that's coming from right around the world? Do they feel alone now?
I think Israel.
Do they feel alone now? I mean, dude, I don't think shit. Israeli society broadly thinks about these sorts of things any longer. I think they have found a perfect thought terminating cycle here where they just go, oh, it's anti-Semitism. Okay? It's such a powerful, powerful motivator because anti-Semitism has been a fucking blight for thousands of years. And anti-Semitism still certainly exists. Okay? So, because of that reason, I think it's even more powerful than when white Christians in America talk about white Christian persecution, okay? Because there is a validity to the marginalization. That is the reason why I think it is virtually impossible to get people in Israel to understand why they are being considered as a fucking pariah state. Having said that, however, just as though white Afrikaners started slowly but surely coming to that recognition that they had become a pariah due to their apartheid, I think a lot of Israelis will eventually say, hey, we got to fucking stop this. Like, this is crazy. And if they don't, it's done. Even if they do, it's done. Zionism as a project is, in my opinion, over. It's been over. This is the death knell of Zionism as a project. It's so funny. I tweeted this thing that is not exactly the most, it's not like this is like, I'm limited by the word count on Twitter, right? I said one phone call is all it would take to stop Israel's genocide. If Israel doesn't comply, shut off weapons transfers. If Israel looks to get weapons elsewhere, put a sanctions package. And if that fails, invade Israel militarily. This is why all it takes is one phone call. And a lot of people got very mad at this. They said, this is childish. This is childish. This is childish. Okay. This guy, for example, said this alone should disqualify this guy from any serious discourse law. He's just a frat bro who, at the end of the day, is an entertainer first and foremost. And even that is a stretch. I said, U.S. presidents have stopped Israel with one phone call under Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and even Biden in 2021. What made you feel so confident in your stupidity? Leave your hug box immediately. And I don't understand because, it is objectively untrue. I'm the one in a hug box. You are surrounded by yes men. Won't talk to actual educated people with differing viewpoints who would legitimately challenge your stream. You cry when friends make slight jabs at you. You bam motherfuckers. I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about. People are lashing on you because they know you were right since October 7 and they weren't. It's pathetic behavior. No, I think people are doing that because they also can't contend with open defense of Israel at this point. So instead of openly defending Israel at this point, they still have to they have to grab on to anyone they can and to be like, oh, well, this person is anti-Semitic, I think, please. Or this person is crazy. His opinions are crazy. It's just they can't contend with the reality shifting at an alarming rate around them as more and more people come to the terms with the reality on the ground. So they have to just lash out at people who are right all along. That's it. It's no different than what Matty Iglesias is doing. But because Matty Iglesias is a professional adult that works in media, he obviously has to take a different tone than people who are still holding out hope for for some kind of defense of Israel by just simply attacking Israel's critics.
Israelis feel extremely alone. The country is more and more isolated, and increasingly in ways that regular Israelis can feel. Israel has been distanced from the rest of the world during this long period of war, in part because foreign airlines have stopped flying here. It has become more and more risky to be an Israeli abroad. To be heard speaking Hebrew has become a draw for in some cases, real violence. And remember that the Israeli Prime Minister, this same magician of diplomacy, now faces indictments from the International Criminal Court. So he can barely travel abroad. He used to be a standard bearer for Israel. I do think that it's important to remember that a two-state solution, until fairly recently, was the official position of the Israeli state. The state of Israel said, we want to live side by side with an eventual state of Palestine. It is Prime Minister Netanyahu who, in a fairly recent statement a few years ago, said, over my dead body, will there be a state of Palestine? He turned this issue into a taboo when it is almost by definition, an Israeli interest to be able to live side by side in peace with Palestinians. And now this taboo that he created is being used against him and is being used against Israel by allied leaders who were searching for some way, any way they could pressure him, now that the Trump administration appears to have decided to give him almost blanket support.
Well, we'll see if that does shift once those discussions with Steve Witkoff start. Thank you very much for that, Noga Tanopolsky, reporting there for us from Jerusalem.
What's going to happen when it goes back to the exact same method? They cannot contend with the walls closing in. That's it. It's in its death throes. Zionism as a project is in its death throes. Israel is a pariah state that even politicians are being forced to recognize as a pariah state now. And while they take their sweet ass fucking time, with like these incredibly convoluted and restrictive conditional recognitions, okay, that will open up a permission structure for people like ourselves to continue our advocacy. That's it. I never thought that I would see the day where, I mean, you know, this kind of commentary is silly, but like the Pod Johns sound like me a year ago, you know? Like you got Pod Save America, you got Obama's speech writing team and its podcasting circle that is fairly influential, right? They are now talking like I was speaking a year ago. That, I think, is a signal of the attitude shift. That's why we say one day everyone will have always been against this. It still feels like people are trying to qualify their statements by being like, Israel was right to respond to October 7th the way they did, but now they've gone too far. Yeah, that's fucking bullshit, okay? That's bullshit. The idea of like claiming, you know, Israel has a right to defend itself. But Hamas, like these kinds of qualifiers are ridiculous, okay? No one has a right to do a genocide. It's that simple, which is why so many people refuse to say it. So many people still refuse to say Israel's an apartheid. So many people refuse to say Israel's doing a genocide. The reason why they can't say it, Bernie Sanders, okay, is because Israel does not have a right to a genocide. No one has a right to do a genocide. There's no justification for it. So because Israel is currently doing a genocide, and many people are recognizing it as such, okay, many more people are recognizing it as such, especially at this point, people that are still holding on to this notion of Israel just like kind of getting ahead of itself and only accidentally, doing this ethnic cleansing campaign, are speaking to a reality that doesn't exist. Yeah, I saw a Boston Celtics player's sister going off on someone defending the Israeli player that wants to educate Americans on what's really happening. Yeah, I saw. I actually liked her response to this as well. Anna Horford, okay, the sister of Boston Celtics power forward Al Horford, goes on a nasty rant against Deni Avdija for supporting his home country, Israel. And then it's an Israeli flag and then a shy emoji. Deni is a hero. If you don't know him, he is up-and-coming Israeli all-star player who plays for the Portland Trail Blazers. Everyone show him support. This was the tweet. Denny Avdija says he's willing to educate people in the U.S. Not everyone understands 100% what is happening in Israel. We're a very small country. We are a small country. And there are people who live in bubbles in their countries. Many are interested. And I always explain the whole situation. Anna Horford says, this is like a Nazi trying to justify the Holocaust. You can't both sides what Israel's doing. Israeli denial and lack of accountability will be studied for decades to come. The NBA is made worse by his presence. Okay? Denny is 100% Albanian, man. Yeah, I don't know this dude's background, but she responded, and I really liked it. She said, heroes don't support genocide and apartheid. Outdated Zionist propaganda doesn't work anymore. The world sees you for who you are. Respect. A small but vocal contingent of his MAGA base, including younger Republicans and far-right podcasts, have grown skeptical of Washington's relationship with Israel. My people are starting to hate Israel, Trump recently warned a prominent Jewish donor. Yeah, no shit, dude. Anyway, there is a technical reason and a really cynical, really fucked up reason, for the record, why many politicians, including maybe Bernard Sanders, who refuse to call it a genocide, because a genocide is illegal, and aiding and abetting a nation that is conducting a genocide is also illegal. And unless you're AOC and you somehow say Israel's doing a genocide, but we also have to defend it, most politicians don't want to say the first part, because the second part looks fucking stupid when you say the first part. AOC literally says it's a genocide, but then turns around and is like, but we still have to give defensive weapons to the country doing genocide. Okay, well, you're out of your mind then. Okay, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Ridiculous. As if the size of a country determines your responsibility towards international laws and human rights. Yeah. Israel, tiny nation. Okay, well, you're still doing a genocide to 2 million people right now. Okay, and an apartheid to another 2.5. And you refuse to let, like, basically the remaining 10 million Palestinians back into their ancestral homelands. That's pretty fucked up. I don't give a shit what size you are. Also, it doesn't matter what size you are. You got nukes, and America's backing you to the hilt. Like I've said, dude, I think there are many things that Israel did wrong in this process. There are many things that Israel did really wrong in this process, okay? But one of the things that I identified early on was the comfort that Israeli envoys experienced for many, many decades, okay? As they were able to freely contextualize why all of this bloodshed was totally appropriate. And if you actually criticized it, you were anti-Semitic, and that would just shut off all kinds of responses instantly, right? Now that no longer exists, they thought they could still get away with that bullshit. And because of that, when they couldn't get away with it, they got incredibly fucking arrogant. I'm sorry, but if you're that fucking arrogant, obviously Americans who don't give a shit are going to turn around and go, oh, I don't know about this. What do you mean? You've gotten billions of dollars in weapons, big dog. What is happening here? Let's dial it back a little bit. Rogan has gone full woke. And
then they're kicking students out that like write articles they don't like.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, I talked about this before when he first covered this.
Isn't a university supposed to be a place where someone's allowed to express themselves and have
non-violently?
Yeah.
This is the average American's perspective, though. Even the average American who doesn't necessarily give a shit about like what Israel is doing all that much sees like the death and destruction, thinks, this is not great. But then more consequentially, more significantly, Americans fucking hate censorship and cancel culture. And then all of a sudden, the position of defending Israel revolves around an endless amount of cancel culture and an endless amount of violations of the First Amendment, like actual real violations of the First Amendment, not simply saying, oh, you made me feel bad and now I'm going to yell at you, but actually prosecution from the government. Americans see that and they go, okay, well, this is extra ridiculous.
So they're writing something down and they're not calling for violence either. And they're getting challenged. And that's supposed to be how it happens. You get challenged, smarter people have better arguments, or your argument stands.
Right, discourse.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a place for discourse.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you're deporting people because you don't like who they're criticizing? Like, that gets kind of shifty.
Podcasters, especially, are not beholden to the administration to the same degree as like a Charlie Kirk is. The free world has a moral responsibility to Palestinians in distress. Flood Gaza with food, says Richie Torres. Wow. He got woke, dude. They cheer for genocide and starve our people, but once the damage is done and the impact is irreversible. They divorce themselves from the depravity and act like they had the moral position all along. That's crazy because I feel like Richie Torres was, I'm blocked by him, by the way. I feel like he's been the #1 attack dog for Israel in Congress. What's going on, dude? What an attitude shift here. What a fucking attitude. What changed, Richie? Bitchy Torres? Oh, you got scared you're going to get primaried? Is that what happened? And you still, I hope you do. This is why, by the way, this is part of the reason why I said it's not just about AIPAC dollars. Okay? It's not just about the money that these politicians get from AIPAC or other Israel advocacy groups. Okay? Do you understand? It's also, more importantly, a direct consequence of America's foreign policy needs and how much they can support that without increasing public scrutiny. That's why public pressure matters. Because when it becomes unavoidable, public pressure becomes unavoidable on this issue, and you are known for being the champion of this issue, the champion of starving children in Gaza. And no amount of AIPAC dollars will save you. Richie and many others are there, okay? They are recognizing the attitude shift. They're recognizing how much the public is grossed out by Israel and Israel's actions, and defending Israel can put you underwater, especially in the Democratic Party. Senator Sanders' resolution to block offensive arms sales in response to civilian casualties in Gaza and the ongoing humanitarian crisis there fails in the Senate 2770, but notably 12 Dems voted yes that didn't support a similar resolution in April, a notable shift. It's up to 27. The depravity is clear, okay? The Democrats are fucking depraved. The Republicans are already evil monsters. We already know that. But the fact that the Dems have only gotten up to 27 at this point is crazy. Here's what Cory Booker did. 17 Democrats voted no, effectively a yes vote for more bombs on Palestine. Bennett, Blumenthal, Booker, there it is, Cantwell, Coons, Cortez Masto, Fetterman, Gillibrand, Maggie Hasan, Hickenlooper, Padilla, of course, Peters, Rosen, Schiff, Schumer, Warner, and Wyden. 3 convening absences were Gallego, and Mark Kelly and Elisa Slotkin. Yeah. Slotkin missed this vote because she was too busy going on the Colbert Report. California is so fucking cooked. It appears Slotkin skipped 2 votes to block arms sales to Israel tonight to go on Colbert. Good stuff. Incredible. Remember how she was talking to Crystal Ball about this? Where it's like, oh, this is something I will consider. It turns out she was considering escaping. It's ridiculous. Anyway, here's Trump literally defending Israel again because Canada is posturing towards state recognition for Palestine.
Trump suggesting he won't make a trade deal with Canada. Trump posting on Truth Social, quote, Canada just announced that it is backing statehood for Palestine that will make it very hard for the U.S. to make a trade deal with them. Canada faces a 35% levy on imported.
Where do I direct my anger? Like they bombed every building, every hospital, every single refugee camp, death did nothing. Why is food the issue? I have repeated this over and over again. Denial of aid is irredeemable in the eyes of legal authorities. It is the most overt version of ethnic cleansing. Under legal circumstances, you can actually engage in this horrifying calculation of collateral damage. This person was a priority target. Maybe he wasn't supposed to be a priority target, but we assessed it and we thought he was a priority target and we killed 50, 60 people alongside him. That can be defended. Not to say it's defensible. It's still immoral and ridiculous, but that is still something you can technically defend under international humanitarian law, okay? There is no level of plausible deniability for refusal to render aid to a civilian population that you are bombing. If they simply killed everyone in Gaza by bombing them while simultaneously allowing aid to go in to the Gaza Strip, there would be less anger. There is no defense for refusing to allow aid into an area that you're bombing. There's no legal defense for not having any safe zones, for example. Like areas that you do not bomb. You can't defend that. It is indefensible. You will never find an NGO or any sort of legal institution that will try to defend it. That's why Israel denies that it's happening. Okay? Israel doesn't deny that they're blowing up fucking houses and shit. They do it in broad daylight, but they deny that they're refusing aid into the Strip. The reason why they have to deny it is because it is completely illegal. It's like the one thing, it is the one thing that is a non-starter for every NGO, for every fucking international human rights lawyer, for every single advocacy group. It is for every single organ of justice on the international scale. It does not matter. You will never be able to defend it. It is indefensible.